I am like trying to shake off an like an aggro mood because I just got back from driving Andrew to work and this person they like almost hit me merging into like the highway. And so I slowed down trying to like let them go in, but they weren't like speeding up to get in. So I sped up so I could let them in behind me. And then they honked at me and they didn't do a little beep beep. They like long pressed.
Eh.
And I was like, and I flipped them off. I never flip off people in traffic, but and then I was scared that they were one of those like insane road rage people and they were gonna follow me home and murder me or something. They
And they
didn't.
didn't.
They didn't. We're fine. But
City drivers.
how are you?
I'm okay. I had a full day of double coverage at work today.
Oh, that's not normal, right?
It is not normal.
Was it nice?
It was.
All right. Today we're talking about Hocus Pocus. Oh wait, shit. Hi, witches.
Hey, witches.
We're not forgetting this time.
I
Okay.
wish I had a headset like yours, and I'm gonna probably look on Best Buy to see if I can find something like that.
If you would like to help Kaya get a headset or a better mic, you can pledge to our Patreon and we will add up those funds eventually and get her a nice fancy mic and a nice fancy headset.
Correct.
At the top of this episode, I want to mention because I was listening to the previous episode as I was editing it, and it
Mm-hmm.
occurred to me that we were saying how like in Fear Street, how the whole vision of Sarah and the bleeding on the bones and the killers coming after the people who bleed on the bones like doesn't really connect or make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like it does make sense and I feel silly because the reason the killers go after them is because the killers are cursed by the goods. The goods don't want anybody finding out the truth about Sarah. And if they get the prolonged vision from Sarah, then they will find out the truth about the goods.
Oh
And I
no.
think that is why they go after and kill the people who bleed on the bones. Because then they don't, I mean, maybe they don't know how long the vision is. I don't know. That's my theory. I think that was the intent. And I feel silly. Something else that helps since we're doing it over Zoom is being hooked up to like having your I don't even know if your MacBook has a port for this. If your MacBook could be hooked up to the Ethernet, but if it doesn't have a port, then like that idea is out the window. Anyways, I digress.
You ever seen that guy on TikTok, Gregisms?
I don't know why. What is why?
Because he's a teacher, like second grade teacher or something like that. And he always tells these stories about like his neighborhood Walgreens or something like that. And instead of saying, I digress, he says, because his name is Greg, I digress. I love him. He's my favorite. So, Greg, if you're listening,
I will watch some of him later, like
also
after the
my
podcast.
favorites.
Okay, yes, please do that. I love when people send me TikToks.
Okay. So, Hocus Pocus.
Yes, I'm so excited. I fucking love Hocus Pocus. Okay. Um, something I didn't know is the guy who directed this, he directed High School Musical, Newsies, and Cheetah Girls 2.
Yes, I knew about High School Musical, and when I was watching it with Tony the other night, I was like, oh, Kevin, oh, what the fuck is his name?
Kenny Ortega.
Kevin was close.
Close enough.
I was like, oh, he's the guy that directed and Tony's like High School Musical, I know.
Damn. Okay. Wow.
So
Okay. Tony's like, actually, I already know this, but thank you. I love the kid playing Thackeray Binks because he's just he's like acting for his life.
I don't like his accent.
It's bad, but like I love it, but it's awful. Where is his Oscar? He's putting all of his soul into this performance.
He really is.
And I love that for him. It's so like it makes me feel wholesome. Like he's really trying really hard.
Now, I've seen this movie twice.
I watch this movie every Halloween.
My mother disagrees. She says I've seen it more than twice. She says I've seen it when I was a kid, when I was a child, a youngin'. I, however, beg to differ. So I don't know all the things about it. I just know that there's like a dance sequence and that Sarah likes boys.
It's true. Yeah, there is a dance sequence, and Sarah does like boys, and there's less of that in the second one, but we'll get to that. Um, I have two words for these two movies, and it's Bette Midler. Like she
I
carries the
thought
hell out.
I thought the words were going to be Hocus Pocus, but
Well, Bette Midler carries the fuck out of these movies. She's so amazing.
so they got killed because of witchcraft. And let's talk about the fact that it's in Salem because everything's in Salem.
Yeah, they're in Salem and they are brewing a potion to suck the
Make
life
them
force out of
young
children.
and make them young again.
Yeah, and that's why Thackeray Banks is after them because they have his sister Emily, and he's just giving the performance of his life, and Emily is giving nothing. You get introduced to the three sisters, being Winifred, Sarah, and Mary Sanderson, and it's like what's the term? No, the Three Stooges, and they're just hilarious, and I love them. I had the biggest crush on Sarah Jessica Parker, but I didn't know it was a crush yet. I was like, oh, I just want to be her.
That's not it.
I didn't know that's not what it was. Like just in the opening scene, there's all those lines like, another glorious morning makes me sick. And like 2 seconds into the movie, and she's already selling the whole movie for me. Oh, what do you think of the Binks when he gets turned into a cat? What do you think of the CGI? How do you think it aged?
I don't necessarily remember. Probably wasn't that good. If I'm remembering correctly, it was kind of like some of that Animorph shit.
mm, yeah, Thackeray, they get Emily and they turn Thackeray into a cat because his curse shall be to live forever with thy guilt, and they say
Guilt.
a spell to turn him into a cat, and he's immortal. And me and Andrew were talking about how we were comparing him to the cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the 1996 version, like the puppet.
Salem.
Right. And um
I think he looks pretty real.
Salem or Binks?
But yes.
Both.
Yes.
And the part that always made me really sad is after the sisters are hanged, Binks is trying to get attention from his father, and his father's like, away, away,
Him
beast.
away.
I'm so sad. But I've seen this a million times, and every time that part where he says, away, beast, I'm like, my heart. Oh yeah, after they're hanged or before they're hanged, they say that on one Hallows Eve, on a full moon, a virgin will light a candle and make them rise from the dead.
Yeah, bring them back to life. Now,
Yeah,
is that like that's a spell or are they just foretelling the future? Why do I keep saying foretelling? Telling
it's not
people,
incorrect.
predicting the future?
Well, because they start to say some kind of spell to get the book to open. Well, the book opens and she's like, "Ooh, it's all of you," and then she like says what's gonna happen. They don't really cast a spell. I don't know. Like the candle is already there. I don't know. Maybe they were preparing for this.
That just shows you how much I remember.
But that's a good point. Like I'm gonna say right now that this, as much as I love Hocus Pocus, it's not a critically good movie, but it is so good in my heart. That's a good point that they don't really say a spell. They just kind of say it. And that's yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm not really sure if it's like just them predicting the future or what. And it's kind of interesting that it's like 300 years on the dot.
Well, they do have the black flame candle, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I can theorize all I want, but at the end of the day, in the movie, they didn't give us any reason to think they were preparing to be hanged or anything like that. So it's implied they were casting a spell, but there was no spell really cast. Cut to 300 years later, and there's this guy named Max from California who moved to Salem recently. And he's in class, and they're telling them about the Sanderson sisters, and he's not really having it. And he's like, everyone knows that the Halloween was invented by the candy companies.
And Allison is just like, actually, you're wrong.
I love that she gives him his number back later. He writes his number on a piece of paper and he gives it to her. And he says something about, I don't remember. He says a really weird pickup line that doesn't make any sense to me. And then later on in the courtyard, she gives it back to him and he thinks that she's giving him her number, but it's just his number.
See, and I don't remember this part.
It's fucking savage, and I love that for her. Do you remember the bullies?
Yeah. What the fuck was that dude's name? Like,
Jay and Ice.
and he had his ice shaved in the back of his head. And I'm just like, ah, yes.
Yeah. I used to think Jay, the blonde bully, was very cute. The bullies, they steal Max's shoes, and he has to bike home in his socks. And he's like, oh, I had the worst day ever. And he starts playing drums all angrily. His sister, what's her name? Danny. Danny's a fucking brat.
I think she's kind of cute.
She's adorable, but like she's a brat.
She puts him in his place.
Yeah. And he has to take her trick-or-treating. And he's like, you're 8, go by yourself. And I was like,
8-year-olds don't go by themselves.
That's proof this was made in the 90s. Like, oh, and I wanted to ask you, did you have Mischief Night where you grew up?
No.
Or like there's other names for it too. I don't know what else it's called. Let me Google it really fast.
No, we've never had that.
Mischief. Do you know what it is?
A night in which one causes mischief?
I mean, that is not inaccurate. Oh, it's also known as Devil's Night, Gate Night, Goosey Night, Moving Night, Cabbage Night, and Mat Night. Okay, I've never heard any of those except for Devil's Night. It's an informal holiday on which children, teenagers, and adults engage in jokes, pranks, vandalism, and or parties. And it's the night before Halloween. He ends up having to take her trick-or-treating, and she embarrasses him in front of the bullies because they're taking a candy tax from all the trick-or-treaters, and he ends up just giving them his bag of candy. And she's like, for your information, he's a little eager. And they all laugh at him. He like yells at her because she embarrassed him. And she's like, I want to go home now. And then she finds a pumpkin to go cry on. And she's cry acting so hard. I know she's a kid actor. It's not very good cry acting, but I'm giving her like a little leeway because she is a child.
And then they go over to freaking Allison's house or something.
Yeah, they make it to Allison's house, and apparently her family's super loaded, so they have a big house and they have full-size candy bars. And she says something to Allison about like, because she knows that Max likes Allison, and she says, Max likes your yabos. Do you remember that part?
Yeah. I couldn't remember what word she used.
What are yabos? I mean, I get what they are, but like
titties.
But have you ever heard that word outside of Hocus Pocus?
My mother's gonna listen to this.
Have you ever heard the word yabos outside of Hocus Pocus?
No. I thought it was just a word and a spell that they used when I got the freaking Hocus Pocus palette from ColourPop.
Oh, it's on the palette. What color is it?
Hold on, let me go grab it. I'll show you.
Okay. That's so funny that it's on the palette.
It's a beautiful olive green.
Hmm. It's like a shimmer shade.
It mixes well with like every other shade on this palette.
It's such a pretty palette. I kind of want it, to be honest. It's so funny to me that they named a shade Yabos. I didn't think it was that big, like big of a part of the movie to name a shade after it.
They have Come Little Children, Tis Firm on Toast, Yabos, I Call It a Bus, Night of Frolic, Dead Man's Toe, Goodbye Cruel World, and some other ones that I don't think are as important.
I love all of those. I love those, except for Yabos. I really think they could have probably replaced that with something else. But I digress. There's lots of stupid version jokes in this movie.
I like the virgin joke in the second one.
Yeah, I do. I like the virgin joke in the second one too. Well, we'll get to that virgin joke because it's actually funny. But the virgin jokes in the first one are dumb. I like I don't know. How do you feel about them?
Indifferent?
I just like they just really try to hammer it home and it's like, damn, we get it. Like
We get it. Max is a
seriously.
virgin.
Yeah. Also, okay, so um Max and Allison and Danny end up going to the Sanderson house because Allison's mom used to work there as a tour guide, but it's shut down now. And they're looking at all the stuff, and Max is like, "Oh, let's light the black flame candle that will bring them back because it's just a bunch of hocus pocus." So he lights it, and the flame is black, and the floor starts shaking, and they're all screaming.
I would be too.
Yeah. Um, and
This
then they
reminds
hide.
me of that graphic of that ghost with the witch hat. Ghost? Goose with a witch hat, and it's like it's all a bunch of honkus ponkus.
I don't think I've seen that, but I would love to.
It's so cute.
So yeah, the Sanderson sisters are back. Mary's whole bit is that she's kind of like a dog. Like she barks and she can sniff out children.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. I don't get it, but that's her bit.
And
Cause
Sarah's
like
she likes boys.
she likes boys and she can lure children with her singing voice. Mary can sniff them out and Winifred is just powerful. And I think that's their designated bits. You can't see me, but I'm shrugging right now. Like, I don't
Winifred
know.
is power hungry too.
Yes. So yeah, he lights the black flame candle, they're back. They try to get Danny and they fail because I mean Allison and Max are there too, and he's like, "You have messed with the great and powerful Max, and now you will suffer the burning rain of death." And they're like, "Burning rain of death, what is that?" And then he holds a lighter up to the sprinkler, and they freak the fuck out because it's modern technology. And so they go and hide, and then they run out, and they take the spell book with them that they need to like pretty much do anything.
Book.
Book. His name is Book.
His name is Book.
His name is Book.
He's cute.
He's adorable. He has a little eye that moves, and he's alive. And he's even more endearing in the second movie.
Oh yes, absolutely.
um so yeah, the cat, there's a black cat that tries to keep Max from lighting the candle, but obviously he fails. And then as they're running out, he jumps on Max and he's like, "Nice going, Max." And so he's talking to Max in English. Now, why can he talk to it makes sense maybe that he can talk to Max because he lit the candle, but why can he talk to Allison and Danny? Shouldn't they
Especially when he couldn't be like, "Hey, Dad, it's me, you dumbass."
right, like he should still be meowing to them. So that kind of bothered me.
They get out,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then they go on a witch hunt. And there's a musical number.
Not yet. Well, I
Eventually.
mean, there's some like really good shit between that and the musical number. Like good shit as in like good shit, but also like terrible shit.
I like Billy.
I like Billy too, and I'm so glad we got more of him in the second movie. So yeah, they escape, and this is when the witches find out that it's just water coming from the ceiling, and then they go to they go to chase after the teenagers, but there's firefighters there because the sprinkler system went off, so they're kind of like hiding behind the sign. And Winifred is like, what does she say? She says, "They're witch hunters. Look at their black cloaks and their axes to chop off our heads with," or something like that. And there's other character building with the Three Stooges that are the Sanderson sisters. Like Sarah's distracted and she's like, "What a pretty spider," and she eats it. Um,
Ew.
yeah, and Mary is like, Winifred's upset and she's like, "Would it made you feel better if you hit me?" And so she kind of hits her. They find out that the kids went to a place that is hallowed ground and they cannot step on hallowed ground because they are witches and it is a
Uh,
graveyard.
I was about to say it's a cemetery, right?
Yeah. And that's where they resurrect Billy Butcherson because
Can
he
we
can touch them.
define hallowed ground?
Hallowed ground, it's like consecrated. So like holy, yeah, consecrated. Holy consecrated. The church stands on hallowed ground, sacred, revered. So it's like blessed, like a holy place. So like a witch wouldn't be able to walk into a church. And so the cemetery is conceivably a church cemetery.
Okay. I only remember hearing about hallowed ground from one other piece of media, and it was an episode of Supernatural, and there was a ghost car, and they drove it to a place where there used to be a church.
Hmm.
Like they made it chase them into a place that used to be a church, and then it drove onto that land, and it just poof.
Because it was holy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
really interesting.
Hmm. That makes me think of the horror movie Christine about the possessed car.
That sounds like a terrible movie.
It kind of is, but for some reason I love it. I don't know why. I think I'm just nostalgic for it. Not as much as I love Hocus Pocus though. Different kind of love for sure. Um, so yeah, they resurrect Billy Butcherson, which is Winifred's supposed past lover, and they get him to chase the teenagers.
And then he likes them.
Yeah, they he like somehow gets his mouth, or oh, he steals a pocket knife from, this happens later in the movie, but he steals a pocket knife from Max and cuts open his lips that were sewn shut um by Winifred when he was still alive. Um which is like yikes.
They only shared
Uh
one.
yeah, the reason she sewed his mouth shut is because she caught him fooling around with Sarah and she sewed his lips shut so he would never tell her secrets.
Even in death.
Yes. So he gets the knife from Max later on in the movie and he cuts it open and like he immediately starts calling her names like hag and wench and other things like that. Um he's very charming.
If some dude that I had only kissed once said that I was his lover, I would also be calling him a hag or a wench.
Oh, for sure.
Grateful that it's never happened.
Something that totally went over my head is that like when they lose the teenagers at one point, um Winnie Winnie Fred Winnie goes cheese and crust. And apparently she's supposed to be saying like Jesus Christ.
I used to say cheese and rice.
That totally went over my head. Because Andrew laughed at it and I was like, what? I don't get it. They are leaving the graveyard to try and find the teenagers, and a bus pulls up and they're freaked out because it's a bus. They're from the 1600s, and the fucking bus guy. Do you remember the bus guy?
Yeah.
He's
Hardly.
atrocious.
Yeah.
He's atrocious. She's like, Winifred's like, what do you call this contraption? And he's like, this is a machine that can take you to your most forbidden desires. I call it a bus. And they're like, we desire children. And he's like, it may take me a couple tries, but it won't stop me from trying. Because, get it? Like,
I get it.
you get it?
Get it.
And then Sarah rides on his lap.
It's probably illegal.
Yeah, super illegal because it's a bus, a city bus. And
Public transport.
yeah, they run over Binks at some point.
And Danny's
And
losing her fucking mind. And
yeah,
then comes back to life because he's cursed.
yeah. He's literally like, you dumbasses, I told you I couldn't die. But like that's still traumatizing. Like, Jesus.
My friend hates that part.
It's sad. It's a flattened kitty, even if it's a puppet.
Is he a puppet?
Well, the part where he's run over, it's like clearly like some kind of puppet model thing. It's not the CGI cat. So yeah, the Sandersons are confused by Halloween costumes. They run into this guy dressed up as the devil and they're like, Master! And that's a whole thing.
I find it hard to believe that the devil actually looks like that. And then they enter a house party.
At some point, Max tries to tell a cop about what's going on. And he's like, this guy, I like his acting in this movie. His face acting is really good. And he's like, okay, so I went to the Sandersons' house and I lit the black flame candle. And Danny's like, and he's a virgin. He takes him to the side, the cop does, and he's like, you a virgin? He's like, okay, guys, stop messing with me. I got real stuff to take care of. Get out of here and take that cat with you. And then someone else comes out of the store and he's like, those guys thought I was a real cop. That's illegal. That's
It was his Halloween costume, though.
I don't think you can do that. That's impersonating a police officer.
You ever seen the movie Let's Be Cops? The same exact scenario happens where these two dudes dress up as cops for Halloween. But in the end, one of them actually ends up becoming a real cop. He fucking faked his way onto the force. It's pretty great.
Does anyone ever find out?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Is it a 90s movie?
Oh no, this came out like just a couple years ago.
Oh.
Their costumes look like real police uniforms.
I mean, he's funny, but also I was like, that's gotta be illegal. Right?
I feel like it might be illegal 365 days of the year.
They come out from the devil's house because they realize it's not the devil. Or actually, they get kicked out by the guy who's dressed up as the devil's wife. She has the dog chase them out. And their brooms are missing. And Winifred goes, purloined. And I was like, oh my God, like the Pokemon.
Yes.
I didn't know that was a real word.
I did not either.
And then they realize Halloween is a thing. It's become a night of frolic and children dress up and they eat sweets and blah, blah, blah. And I have some stuff on brooms. I don't know if I want to talk about it yet.
It'd be fun to do a whole episode on transportation.
The reason I wanted to talk about brooms is because that's actually a thing in witchcraft.
Is it?
Yes. There's the history part, which I wrote down, and there's the actual part that's practiced in witchcraft, which I wrote down. Maybe we can get into the history part in a later episode. Maybe if we ever go back, revisit the witch trials. The broom, or in Wicca, it's called the besom. I don't know if I'm saying that right because I'm not Wiccan, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced besom. In pagan practices today, the broom is literally used to sweep away negative energy. It's literally used like a cleanser, like a broom. You sweep away negative energy. And practitioners also leave a broom outside their house. Some people say if you leave it upside down, that can be bad luck because you're inviting negative energy in. But some people say that if you leave it upside down, that you're inviting abundance in. But if you leave it like the right way down with the bristles down, that's warding negative energy away from your house.
Besom.
Besom? That's just silly. I believe you, but it's silly.
It says B as in by, E as in fleece, Z as in zoom, and then the EM as in as in rhythm.
Besom.
Besom.
Okay. So yeah, in Wicca, it's like a specific sacred tool called a besom. But in other pagan practices, they also use brooms. I also have some stuff, like I said, history, but I think that would be better for like a witch trial episode, maybe.
I found some interesting stuff on Wikipedia. Lying ointments.
Yeah, I found some stuff about that too on history.com.
Usually made with an ash handle, birch twigs, tied on with a piece of willow wood, used to cleanse the ritual area before circle casting. It's not supposed to touch the ground.
Yeah, you're not supposed to use it like a regular broom.
It's thought of as masculine in nature due to
In Wicca, yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I don't gosh, I could get into a whole thing about the whole idea of gendered energies and gendered things that aren't gendered. But I will save that for another time because I will just go on a tangent.
Excellent.
For now, we'll be a little more focused with our tangents, talking about Hocus Pocus. So yeah, their brooms are missing. So they were purloined like the Pokemon. This is the part where they sing, I put a spell on you in the club.
It's a club,
I think so.
not somebody's house. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's some kind of, yeah, it's like a big town hall party or a club. It's town hall or a club. It looks like a club. I put a spell on you is fucking iconic. I don't feel like it's very clear. When I was rewatching it for the podcast specifically, I don't think it's very clear that they're like putting a spell on them to specifically stay in the club and keep dancing. It's clear they're putting a spell on them, but like not what they're doing, like not what the spell is.
Accurate. I'm not big on musical numbers.
Do you not like musicals?
Oh, I love musicals.
Oh, okay. What? Okay.
I love Hamilton and like, oh God, Wicked. Wicked's great.
Oh, yeah.
Still haven't seen it, but Wicked's great.
We should go see it. Oh my God. It can be a podcast expense.
Chicago.
It's in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Andrew hasn't seen it either, and I'm dying to take him. I love I Put a Spell on You. And there's no reason they should know that song, but they do. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
We were talking about that for the second movie.
There's no reason they should know the songs in the second movie. There's no reason they should know the song in the first movie. They just know it.
Was I Put a Spell on You a song before this movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I'd never heard that one before.
It is originally by Jay Hawkins and Herb Slotkin.
Literally have never heard of them. I'm so
Well,
sorry.
It's from the 1950s.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. After they put the spell on everyone in the club, which includes Max and Danny's mom and dad, who they try to tell about the witches, but like no one listens to them. They lure them into the kiln at the high school, and burn them alive.
Oh, the witches.
The witches. Yeah, not Max and Danny.
For some reason, I thought you were saying the witches lured the adults from the party
Oh my God.
film, and they were just walking into it like it was like some fucking clown car or something like that.
That would be a very different movie.
And I was like, what the fuck? I don't remember that, and I feel like I should.
No. The teenagers lure the sisters into a kiln at the high school and burn them alive. But then they reconstitute after the teenagers leave and think they won. They reconstitute. They like come from purple smoke out of the chimney. They like back into the chimney and back into the kiln, and then they come out all smoky. And they're still alive, probably because of the spell they cast the day they died. That is my theory. It's probably what it is. Yeah. They try to find Max and company, but they find the bullies instead. And they call them, they're like, oh, why is it always the ugly chicks that stay out late? And they all like, excuse me? And then they get locked in cages.
I would too.
Yeah, honestly, fair. I don't blame them. When he's trying to remember the spell for the potion without her book, but like she cannot. Sarah gets one of the ingredients right and they tell her to shut up, which always made me mad. It's a dead man's toe.
They're so mean to each other.
They're so they're so shitty, but they're funny. I don't know. I love them. I think they're iconic.
The whole movie has like a cult following.
Yeah. And I think as long as you can admit that it's not a critically good movie, then it's fine. Because you have to be honest with yourself. And I will get to why I think it's not a critically good movie, like when we're done talking about the first one. There's this part where Bette Midler, Winifred, is like, goodbye, cool world, goodbye to life, goodbye to all that. I love her. I love Bette Midler. I think she's just amazing. It's 5 a.m. now. Max and Allison open up the goddamn spell book because they're trying to help Binks. They like want him to turn back into a human or something. I don't know why they couldn't wait until sunrise. There's no reason.
Because they're dumb.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot.
Like, it's 1993. They're dumb teenagers.
When they open the book, it sends a beacon into the sky. And Binks jumps on it. And they're like, what's your problem? We were just trying to help. And Binks says, well, don't. Like, nothing good can come from that book.
False. We don't know that yet.
Right. So since they sent a beacon into the sky, Winifred is like, sister, observe. And they see that the beacon is there and they still have hope. So they go. And since their brooms were stolen, they fly on a broom. Sarah flies on a mop and Mary flies on a vacuum. They fly to Max and Danny's house and they yoink Danny and Binks and the book. And Sarah sings to lure the rest of the kids in Salem to their house.
And they start coming.
Yep.
I have to say, I do like the mop and the vacuum thing. I think it's like quirky.
Yeah, I like it too. And I like the cute little parallel they do in the second movie with the mop and the vacuum.
The Swiffer and the Roomba.
Yeah, the Swiffer and the Roombas. I like that they got like matching appliances.
I think it's funny that they sing the Swiffer song.
I didn't know there was a Swiffer song. What are you talking about?
Whatever that song was that they sang in the second movie, in the middle, was the Swiffer song. And Tony was like, I don't like that song.
What are you talking about? How does it go? The other song they sang was a cover of The Bitch Is Back by Elton John, except for they say The Witch Is Back.
They sang one in the middle.
They did? I just watched it today and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I've never heard of a Swiffer song, like, period. What's a Swiffer song sound like?
It's some 80s song. Why did they use 80s song?
Why did they use a 50s song? We weren't alive then either.
One Way or Another.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Swiffer song?
No, that's by Blondie, dude.
No, it's a Swiffer song.
No, girl, it's by Blondie, the 80s band. Just because it's in a commercial doesn't mean it's the Swiffer song.
I think it's funny that they used a song that was in a Swiffer commercial when she was flying a Swiffer.
That is funny. I didn't know that was in a Swiffer commercial.
That's how I know that song.
When you say Swiffer song, I'm like, oh, like a song about Swiffers.
Can we stop saying Swiffer?
It doesn't sound like a word anymore.
I don't like it.
Anyway, so that's in the second movie. For now, she just has a mop.
For now, she just has a mop.
And so they go back, they take Danny, the book, and Binks back to their house. They make the potion with the book. They're trying to feed it to Danny. Binks is from the bag, he's like, "Don't do it, Danny." And they're like, "Shut up, cat," even though they shouldn't really understand what he's saying. Max and Allison show up and they somehow fool the witches into thinking the sun has risen with the taillight of the car.
They're dumb.
I mean, yeah. After they escape, the witches follow them to the graveyard. Billy doesn't work for them anymore. This is when he cuts open his mouth and is like, "You're a hag, you're a wench." Bunch of moths fly out of his mouth. It's kind of gross. I love it. A fight ensues. Winnie gets a hold of Danny in the graveyard, but she drops the potion and Max gets it. And he says, "Let her go or I'll smash it." And she's like, "If you smash it, I'll kill her." So he drinks it. And then she tries to suck his life force out, but she's standing on hollowed ground now because she fell off her broom.
And I don't remember what happens at the end.
So, right, she's trying to suck out his life force, but she's standing on hollow ground. She's like, and then she looks down at her feet, and it's like they're like steaming. And she looks back up at Max, and she's like, but she turns into stone as the sun rises, and the sun rises higher, and Sarah and Mary explode into colorful sparkles.
That's how I want to go.
Same. At some point during the struggle, Binks was trying to get one of them to unhand Danny, and he jumped on them, and they like flung him into a tree, and he hit the tree really hard and fell onto a rock. But now he's dead for real. But it's okay because he's a ghost now, and he's with his sister Emily. So like, yay.
And then he says something at the end, and he's like, "I will always be with you."
And he kisses Danny on the cheek, which I know is supposed to be wholesome, but it always struck me as kind of weird.
I think it's weird that he's always going to be with her when they were only together for one night.
Right? Like the whole, like, I don't know, it always felt kind of weird. Like, I know it's supposed to be wholesome, but it just doesn't feel right to me. It would be one thing if he was like actually a pet, but like he's a man. He's a man that was trapped in a cat's body.
For
I don't
300
know.
years.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how the movie ends. Oh, and Billy goes to lay back down in his grave and go back to sleep. But I have some words for that in the next movie. I have words. More plot holes, let's just say for now. So, why do I think Hocus Pocus is critically bad even though I love it so much? It's a question of tone. Like, this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It seems like it wants to be one of those movies for kids where there's jokes for parents in there, but like it doesn't have a good balance. And the tone shifts are like, is it a dark movie? Is it a family movie? Is it a comedy? And some of the acting is just not there. Some of the character writing is not there.
It's cringy.
Yeah. And also, obviously, we mentioned there's some plot holes. But as I have previously stated, the ability to entertain trumps critical standing. And I don't watch this movie every Halloween for no reason. Like, I know that part of it is probably nostalgia, but the other part of it is that it's just plain entertaining to me. Like, I love the Sanderson sisters. I don't really care about the other cast. They could be anybody. It's mainly like Kathy Najimy, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Bette Midler that I'm here for. What are your thoughts?
So, you ever not see a movie and you're just like, I've gone this long without watching it, I still don't want to watch it. Gonna see how long without watching it. Yeah, that was Hocus Pocus for me. And then Pony and I were gonna go into the drive-in theater one night to watch it because I was gonna surprise him. And like I kept giving him hints and I was like, it's a Halloween movie. And then I sent him emojis of the color orange, the color green and the color purple because that's what colors they are, right? And he was like, or we could watch it here. And I was like, oh, okay. And my mom's like, oh yeah, I love Hocus Pocus. So we watched it at my house and I was like, what's the big deal? And I'm still like, what's the big deal? I can respect that it has a cult following. I can respect it. Because there's a lot of 90s movies that do not have a cult following. That just kind of disappeared into the mist. I like Billy. Billy's nice.
I like him too.
It's kind of cheesy, it's kind of hokey. The characters are dramatic. I like the second one better.
That's fair. I think, critically speaking, Hocus Pocus 2 is better. I still, like, if I had to pick one, I would pick the first one to watch.
I think something nice about the second one is that it can be a standalone film. I don't think you
Oh,
need to
you mean
first one to understand what's going on in the second one. Like it would help, but I don't think it's necessary.
right? I love when
Because-
sequels are like that.
Because like I don't know everything about it. I wasn't watching it. I was playing my Switch when I was watching it this year. And I was watching the second one. I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, I like when sequels you don't have to really know, you don't have to watch other movies to like enjoy the movie. And that's definitely something that Hocus Pocus 2 has going for it.
Very modern. Like
Mhm.
they have cell phones. They have Walgreens with fluorescent lights. I mentioned fluorescent lights. It's I think it's cute that like Becca tries to
Yeah,
be
let's get
um
into the second movie like fully.
so okay, yeah. So it starts off when Winnie is 16. It starts off on her 16th birthday. And it gives you like some background information. She is set to marry some dude.
John Pritchett.
Yeah. And she's like, actually, I'd rather marry Billy because he's cute and not ugly. And I'm just like, okay, that's fair.
Well, she says they're soulmates because they shared a kiss in the graveyard.
That's, yeah,
That's a
accurate.
bit. She's 16.
She's 16. Accurate. She goes home and she sees her sisters and they're pretending they're not home while this mayor man, Reverend,
Hmm.
is like trying to knock down their door, telling her that she has to marry Pritchett.
Mm.
And one of them, I don't remember who, is like, they're not home. And I'm just like, what
Sarah.
a dumbass.
That's her bit though. She's the airhead.
They run away to the woods and they meet a witch. And she's like, don't you ever use this fucking spell. If you do, it's gonna fucking suck.
It's called Magica Maxima.
Which makes you so powerful.
Yeah. And
And
also, I need to talk about this witch. Like, she is everything. Like, she turns into a lady from a bird, and she has this dress with an embroidered eye on it, and she has a cloak with feathers on top and these jewels on her face.
she's
I
kind of gorgeous.
I was living.
She basically tells them the most important part of being a witch is having your coven, I think.
Mm.
And she basically gives them the spell book, which Tony was like, what the hell? She was supposed to get the spell book from the devil.
I mean, that's the lore they tell in the shop.
Okay, well, maybe consider this. Maybe Winifred was just making shit up.
Could be.
She seems like the kind of person that would do that, especially at like 16.
Yeah. I have another question. Okay, so in the first movie, there's a couple times where they're like reminiscing and they're like, Mother, and they're like, what if Mother could see us now? And then they're like, Mother. Are they talking about this lady? Because there's no other lady figure in their life They talk about their father and their apothecary briefly, but there's no mother mentioned. So are they referring to this lady?
Which is interesting because they literally knew that lady for like 3 minutes.
Right? Like, did she come back later? And we didn't see it? Who knows?
And then it flashes forward to Gilbert.
This is the best part of the movie with the three girls. And the girl who plays Winnie is amazing.
She's pretty cute too.
She apparently she had watched Hocus Pocus upwards of 40 times in preparation for her role. And Hocus Pocus was already her favorite movie.
That's wild.
And Bette Midler gave her some tips, and she thought she did phenomenal. And just imagine seeing an amazing actress from your favorite movie say that to you as a child. I have less notes about what happens in this movie. Just little notes about how I feel when I have thoughts. For example, Izzy, when she comes on screen, I'm obsessed with her style.
Yeah, I like the relationship that the girls have. So we're introduced to Becca. Becca. And it's her 16th birthday. And they talk about witchy parties and stuff like that. Izzy's her best friend, and Cassie was their best friend, but somehow they had a falling out, and it's not really explained to us. Izzy and Becca go to Gilbert's shop or whatever, which is the old Sanderson house. And Book is there, and the black flame candle's there, and Gilbert turns off the lights, and he's like, and it is said that they will return when a virgin lights the candle on Hallows Eve or whatever. And then this little kid's like, what's a virgin? And Gilbert's like, it's a person who's never lit a candle. And I thought that was so funny.
It was funny. It was funnier than all of the virgin jokes in the last movie combined.
It really was. It was it's like when a kid asks you an awkward question and you're just like, it's something you'll learn about when you're older.
I don't know. When I saw it was a metaphysical shop now, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I love Gilbert.
Oh, I loved him too. It kind of, I'll get into that thought in a little bit. So he gives the girls the black flame candle, I guess. And he's like, here, go have witchy fun in the woods. And they do. And all of a sudden, they hear song and dance. And they see the Sanderson sisters singing and dancing.
They're singing.
And they're like, literally, what the fuck is going on? And then they realize, oh shit, we brought the Sanderson sisters back to life.
They're singing The Witch is Back. The Witches Are Back, but it's a cover of The Bitch Is Back by Elton John, which is funny to me.
Play on words.
And real life witch ship here, they light the candle, and at first it's like a sparkler, and they're like, thanks a lot, Gilbert, almost started a forest fire, and they poured water on it. And real life witch tip, this is why you always have water next to you when you're doing fire or candle magic. They were smart. But then,
I didn't
they
know
still
that.
Yeah, well,
They still summoned them.
yeah, they still summoned them. They're still here. Also, why does Sarah look like that?
It's her eyebrows.
Why did they do her like that?
It's her eyebrows.
Why did they do her eyebrows like why? There's no reason for her to look like that. Her eyebrows don't look like that in the first movie. What are they doing? I was so upset because she's my favorite. I identify with Sarah. Why did they do her like that? I was so irritated. And Andrew's like, why are you calling her ugly? And I'm like, I'm not. They did her dirty.
Tony was really upset about it too.
Good.
And his sister was like, it's her eyebrows.
Her eyebrows look crazy.
They see Becca and Izzy. And They're like, a child. And Becca's like, no, I'm a witch too. And I'm actually 40, but I look like a teenager.
They say that they have a bunch of potions these days that make you with children's souls in them
That
that
make
make
them
you
younger.
young.
And they're called lotions.
Yeah.
So they take them to Walgreens
Thy
with the,
apothecary.
with the fluorescent lights.
And there's this part where they're all like looking at the lotions and like eating some of the lotions and like face masks. And at some point, Sarah's like reading the labels and she's like, retinol, what a charming name for a child. And that made me laugh.
I missed that part.
3 girls come up to them and they're dressed like them. And they're like, oh my God, are you the Sanderson sisters? Can we have a selfie? And
That
they're
was
like
so
kind of,
cute.
yeah, it was so cute. They're kind of confused at first and they're like, but they still somehow know how, like to pose. So they do. And they have a filter on when they take the picture. So they see the little box, the little camera, and they see the picture and they're like, oh my God, the potions are working. And then they see one of those big mirrors that are like domed behind them.
And it distorts them how those domed mirrors do not distort people.
Right. And Sarah's like, the little box lied. And then they're very mad at Becca and Izzy.
And Becca and Izzy try to escape. They also ask the store clerk, and they're like, are there children's souls in here? And he's like, no. And I'm just like, bitch, you should have fucking lied.
If someone's holding you by the collar and being like, how many children's souls are in this? And they look very peeved, just say what you think they want to hear.
12.
12, 20.
1.
Shoot a number. Yeah. Any number that's not 0, which is what he said. At some point, Becca grabs Salt, and that's how they get away. They like protect themselves with salt. Right?
Yeah. Somehow they get back to somewhere. They were going after the mayor, which is their friend Cassie's dad, who's obsessed with caramel apples.
Yes. Oh my God. So like at the beginning, when they're like leaving school, they see Mr. Trask, the mayor, and he thinks that them and Cassie are still tight. He's like, when you go to the festival tonight, make sure you stop by whoever's candy apple stall. Like, they're amazing. They were on something called GMA, which is some fancy people acronym, and they're like, Good Morning America. And he's just so wholesome and cringy, and I love him. He must be protected at all costs.
He's such a white dad, if I'm
He's
being
adorable. So they get their corresponding non-brooms from Walgreens, the Swiffer and the vacuum, or sorry, the Swiffer and the Roombas. Somehow Winnie still gets a broom.
Listen here. I don't know what fucking Walgreens they were at, but I have never, ever seen a Walgreens that sells Roombas.
I have not either.
That's like $300. That's almost grand theft.
Maybe they are knockoff Roombas.
My dad calls the Roomba Zimbo.
Zimbo?
Yes,
What?
it's so cute.
What? Why?
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's what I'm calling them now. Zimbo. Okay.
I love Zimbo.
Why is that so?
Adorable.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna call them Zimbo now. So Mary gets the Zimbos. For some reason, decide to do the Magic and Maxima spell because they need to they're like, oh my gosh, like forget the whole eating children thing. Like we just need to like not fuck with that anymore, and we will just become all powerful, and then we won't need to do all that. We can just like take over Salem. So they need all these ingredients, and they go to their house, which is the metaphysical shop now,
Where they
and they
recruit
see
Gilbert
Yeah,
and his cat, who is named Cobweb.
which is adorable. They almost kill Cobweb because they think it's Binks.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he's like, no, don't do that. I have your stupid little hourglass right here. And then they curse him, and he has to get all of the ingredients, or else he will die when the last grain of sand falls.
Such as Billy's head.
Okay, this is the part where I have some gripes. Why is Billy still awake? Because when the witches poofed in the last movie, when they died, quote unquote, the magic that was working on Binks to keep him alive, like to keep him immortal, that magic stopped working. So why was the magic that was working on Billy to keep him reanimated, why was that magic still working for 29 years after the witches died again? Why?
Because
Is that the end of the
magic.
sentence? Oh, okay. I was mostly mad that my guy Billy didn't get his fucking rest. You know, he was just sitting in that box in the dark for 29 years.
Maybe he had a really long nap.
Well, Gilbert digs him up and he's like, I need your help. And he realizes that he's not going to get his help because Winifred is involved. And this is when we find out that he was not her lover.
It was only one kiss.
Yes. Gilbert says, well, I'm actually making a spell to kill Winifred for good. And if you help me get all the stuff, then I can kill her. And Billy's like, cool, awesome, let's do it. And we get this like a few little glimpses throughout the movie of them like trying to get the stuff, and it's really cute. And I kind of like, I know we got more of Billy in this movie, but I kind of wish we got even more because he was just delightful.
He really is.
And then the sisters keep getting distracted by the festival. And they stop in a costume contest.
Yeah, and there's oh yeah.
That is specifically a Sanderson sister costume contest. And there's drag queens there, Cornbread Ginger Minge and Kimora Hall.
And the Sanderson sisters lost their own lookalike contest.
Yeah. And so they steal the trophy and then they start singing. They sing One Way or Another by Blondie.
The Swiffer song.
The Swiffer song.
And Tony was like, I really don't like this song.
Wait, what?
Tony was like, ugh, I really don't like this song.
He doesn't like it? Why?
I don't know.
I mean, I prefer the first one, but I like both of them. I like both of them a lot. And I love the choreography with the crowd in the second movie. Like, there's a lot more dancing. So much so that when they finally get to the mayor, which is why the crowd was dancing in the first place, it's because Winifred's like, lead us to thy mayor. When they finally get to him, he thinks he's in a flash mob. And this is when he finally gets his apple and it goes missing. And he never gets his
think
apple.
They should have done Thriller.
I'm like thinking right now about like how they would do
it just like they did it in 13 Going on 30.
No, I mean like the lyrics. There's no space really for them to do their say into pie, up and baby, up and die. That stuff. I do like the idea of Thriller because it's more thematic.
They would have figured it out.
Speaking of 13 Going on 30, the person who directed this, Anne Fletcher, she also directed The Proposal and 27 Dresses. And I think, like, I call these mom movies, and they're like adorable rom-coms. No, I love them too, don't worry. Kai's making a face. I love these movies. I love The Proposal and 27 Dresses, but they just give me mom vibes. And I think that like the cuteness, like the wholesomeness that is in The Proposal and 27 Dresses with a splash of comedy, like you can really feel that in this movie.
I would definitely agree. It's cute.
Thriller would have been definitely more interesting. I get the idea that they are going to get you, though. They're going to get you.
One way or another.
Yeah, exactly.
So, one way or another, they somehow reunite with Cassie, their friend, who kind of drifted away. And they get to Cassie's house, and they're like, Cassie, you're never going to believe what happened. we did the spell in the woods and the Sanderson sisters came back. And Cassie's like, I don't fucking believe you. And then all of a sudden she sees her boyfriend being chased down the street by one of the Sanderson sisters. And she's like, is that? And they're like, that is, yes. Let us in now, let us in. And she lets them in, and then they break down the door.
Sarah says when they're still looking for the mayor, she's like, perhaps we should inquire with someone. And they're like, what idiot would be stupid enough to lead 3 witches to the mayor? And then it cuts to him running down the street towards Cassie's house. And Sarah's like, told ya, when he says, oh, it's just pure luck that we happened to stumble upon the village idiot. I really like, oh God, what's his name? The
I thought
boyfriend.
it was Mike.
I think it is Mike. I think you're right. I really like him. I think I like his character growth and I enjoy him. And also I thought he was kind of funny at the beginning.
It is Mike. I thought that it was cute when they were hiding behind like a food cart or something like that. And Izzy and Becca were like, well, you drifted away once you got a boyfriend. And she's like, what are you talking about? I didn't drift away. You drifted away. And then Becca was like, well, Mike calls us weird and whatever. And Mike's like, I wasn't calling you weird. I wasn't making fun of you. I thought that's how you bonded.
Yeah.
And they just had like this whole like reconnection over communication. And I'm just like, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. He makes this face like, oh my God. And he says, I have so many people to apologize to, because he's like, that I thought I was just making conversation. It's like, no, you were
I was
literally
making friends.
Yeah, you were literally making fun of people, bud. And that makes me wonder, like, I
No,
wonder if like
No.
no, I was trying to be
No.
hopeful.
no.
Kai immediately shoots it down. Oh yeah, at this point, when they're hiding behind the car, they had trapped the sisters in Cassie's garage with a circle of salt. Like they're entrapped in a circle of salt.
That's when it was. Okay. Yeah, so Becca like lured them and then she says like this magic word and then all of a sudden Izzy and Cassie like run around in a circle with all this fucking salt and then Cassie's like no, Becca's like haha, this salt stops dark magic or something. And Sarah Sanderson is like trying to run through and like her face just gets like pushed up against like glass and then they throw her at it again because they're rude sisters. And the girls, Becca, Izzy, and Cassie all like run off to go save the day and the Zimbos come.
Yes. Mary's like, Winnie, look. And this line from Winnie, she's like, I cannot, my eyes have misted over with the tragic tears of a lifetime of failure. And I was like, fucking same, me. And she's like, my broomies, which is what she calls the Zimbos. She's like, my broomies, they hate mess. Look, sucking up the salt. So they get out.
At this point, I believe the girls are trying to figure out a way to stop them or something.
Cassie gets yoinked. They get out of the salt circle and they fly away. And Cassie gets fucking yoinked like really fast. And they take her to the woods.
That sounds like the start of a horror movie.
Yeah, and it was really scary. Like it was like a jump scare. Because she has the blood of their enemy. So it's good enough, is what they think.
Gilbert brings all of the materials that he needs to save them or whatever. And Becca is with the Sanderson sisters and she's talking and she's like, you have a choice. And Winifred is like, do I though? She's like, no, I don't. And Becca's like, bitch, I'm not fucking talking to you. And Becca ends up addressing the book.
The book is eye acting. The book is like the book is like looking from Winifred to Becca and back again. And it's like the eye acting really fucking sent me.
It made me cry a little bit.
It made me cry a little bit at the end, like, because I'm very emotional. But
Like I was like, oh, book.
a little before this part where she gets the book, after they perform Magica Maxima, or at least part of it, they don't complete it. Mary and Sarah get little zappy powers like Winifred.
In their own
And
colors.
yeah, in their own colors. And there's a moment where Winnie's like, "Stop it, you fools!" And Sarah zaps Winnie, and when he says, "I beg your pardon," and Sarah says, "I am not a fool. I am a good and loyal sister." And I was like, oh, character development?
Stand
But then it didn't happen.
for yourself. Yes.
It didn't happen though, because then Winnie said a command again, and she's like, "Yes, Winnie, right away." And it's like, fuck, I thought we were gonna get something like really interesting there, but we didn't.
So Gilbert gets yeeted
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah, after he gets the ingredients to them, this is before they perform Magica Maxima.
It was so funny because the girls were just like, should we go help him? And Becca's like, no.
Yeah. When he's like, "You are
No.
now redundant." Well, Gilbert's the whole reason that they're there in the first place, and I can understand.
Them.
He made the new black flame candle. He made it with the book.
And he goes, well, I couldn't summon them.
and they're like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well," and he like kind of makes a face, and they're like, "Ew," and it's like, bruh, like,
Okay,
it's not.
but like I was literally the same in high school.
I mean, fair. That's fair. And like, if I was thinking about my friend Gilbert having sex, I would also be like, I would probably think like, ew, if I was 16. I don't know what he was thinking though, because like, I understand him being like maybe a bit of an outcast and thinking that the sisters were misunderstood. But like, he also knows that they did like literally actually kill children in the 1600s. So what are you doing, bud?
So they use the Magica Maxica spell, whatever it's called, and they succeed, and they do it without the book.
There's a part where Winnie's like, "I don't need a book," and the book rolls his eye, which sent me. He rolled his eye.
The book is with the girls, and the girls are like, we need to find a way to reverse the spell. And as they're looking at the spell, they see something, and they're like, well, I don't think she read the fine print. I don't think she read the warning. And so they go back to Winifred and the girls, the sisters, and they're like, you didn't read the warning though, did you? And she's like, what warning? I didn't read a warning. There was no warning. She's basically gaslighting them, right? And they're like, no, there was a warning. I don't think you read it. And then as this is going on, Sarah and Mary are like floating, and they are disintegrating into sparkles.
Yeah.
And Sarah's like, in a nicer way, what the fuck is happening? And she and Mary reach for each other like they do in that Renaissance painting. And it's really cute. And when he's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Sarah's like, "Aren't thou coming with us?" And when he's like, fuck.
And so Becca is like, you didn't read the warning. And she's like, by becoming powerful, you give up what you value most.
Mm-hmm.
And Winnie's just like, she's very much in denial. And then the sisters disintegrate completely. And Winnie's like panicking. And she's like, bring them back. Bring them back. And she's like, sorry, can't. Sorry.
she says magica maxima conversio, and she's like, undo the spell, and obviously none of that is working. And she's like, Book, is there nothing that can be done for old time's sake? And he
And
just
Book is just like,
you'll have to get the Patreon to see what Kaya just did. He did some eye acting, some excellent eye acting. And he
precise.
like looks down a little bit. And you know what it means.
Kind of sad, and you kind of feel sorry for her.
Yeah. She's like, not my sisters. They were my kin. They were my, what does she say? I don't know, like my companions in my mischief, my unholy mischief. And it's really sad. And some people think that this movie isn't good because they think that the Sanderson sisters aren't scary in this movie. They are still like really trying to kill people in this movie. So like, I don't know where they're getting this.
Really,
But
though.
yeah. And they think that like Winnie is like too soft in the scene. Like her sisters are quote unquote dead. Like they're gone. So
He's
like,
never gonna get them back.
yeah, like I think it's valid that she can be a three-dimensional character and not just scary.
And furthermore, they've literally been together for over 300 years.
Yeah.
Like,
So
the first movie probably takes place. I mean, we would say they're probably what, like 70 at the very beginning of the first movie before the aging potion, right?
oh yeah,
They're
yeah,
old.
they're old as hell. I mean, Winnie has to be, oh gosh, I wish I paid attention to what
80
year it was
maybe?
when they were 16, but I didn't. Winnie is the oldest and she had to be like pushing 90, I would think. She looked bad. I think Sarah looks 70 and she's the youngest.
It says 1653.
For the 16-year-old part,
Yeah,
but
I don't think
that
that's accurate.
that doesn't track because the part where they get hanged is in 1639.
I thought it was 1693.
Oh shit, maybe I was dyslexic. I don't know. Fuck.
1693.
Hmm.
So
That gets to 40.
that's 40 years. So she would be
56.
56 in the first movie. Still does not add up.
He was looking rough for 56. That's a rough 56.
That's a real 56.
We're gonna acknowledge that maybe they didn't do the math quite right when they were putting these timestamps on here. Yeah, but they've been together for a long time, like a very, very long time. So I think it's valid that Winnie is like devastated. She doesn't have to be just scary.
I'm trying to find a picture of at the very beginning of the first movie. It's a rough 56. It's a rough 56. I in that image I am seeing a friend's mom at approximately age 60. It's a rough 56, but it's there.
I see it. I'm looking at the picture now.
Like that's a real rough 56, but it's there. Ladies and gents and non-binary friends, make sure you are doing your skincare routines so you do not look like Winifred Sanderson at 56. Please.
Well, I mean, it should be noted that like they didn't have any, like, people just generally looked rougher back then as they aged.
Because they didn't have skincare routines.
And also, like, I don't think it's normal to live that long when you back then, right?
Accurate.
I'm not sure what the lifespan was, but either way, she's looking rough. Do your skincare routine. I'm still so mad about Sarah Jessica Parker's eyebrows. I'm never gonna be over it. Why did they do that to her?
Life expectancy between 1650 and 1700s was 43 years old.
Oh, damn.
Middle-aged 20s.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Lord.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
that is a rough life expectancy. So that rough 56 is that, you know what, that's looking okay.
So then, Winifred's sad. Book has a sudden urge of empathy and opens up and finds a spell for Becca and her friends to cast
To reunite them.
And at first Winifred is like, well, where the fuck are they? And she's like, no. They don't bring them back. They send you to them. And then Winifred starts getting all like floaty and sparkly. And then she starts laughing and she's like, this is perfect. Like, yay. I'm so glad. And she says, you are lucky to have each other.
Yeah, that was so sweet.
It was really cute. It was a very cute movie. And that's like the end of the movie. And Billy finally, like, I'm still mad about it. he gets all sparkly too, and he goes to his eternal rest. So he's actually like first like gone for real this time.
So okay.
I still think he should have been like for real dead before.
Agreed.
But it's fine.
My notes say it's less cliche with a question mark, and I said, in my opinion, they can do without the musical numbers. And I said it was wholesome. I liked the end where Winnie went back with her sisters. I liked Gilbert.
Mhm.
However, I hate that they kind of made him into a bad guy.
I feel like if they gave a little more backstory for him, like, because they say that the night that he saw the witches
Oh
in
yeah, I forgot about
1993,
that completely.
he saw them, and then by the time he tracked them down, they were like exploding into sparkles and died. So that's part of why he wanted to bring them back, because he felt like they were misunderstood. And he says that Halloween wasn't good for him, like bullies took his candy. But like if we got some more backstory of like why he felt like why he identified with the witches so much, I would feel less annoyed by him for bringing the witches back. I feel like they need a musical number, but I don't think they need two. I feel like they could have done without the witches are back. For sure. Because it served no purpose at all.
I tend to zone out during musical numbers that are not like part of the actual story.
Right. One way or another, like, served a purpose. Like, it hypnotized the crowd to find them there. The first song, like, they just kind of sang it because we were expecting them to sing. It is kind of funny at one point. Izzy's like, who are they singing for? And Sarah like jumps in front of her and she's like, you. And that kind of made me laugh. But it was not necessary.
I think it was just like a really cute movie. And I thought it was a lot cuter than the first one. I like that Becca actually was a witch and she actually got powers. I thought that was really cute.
I thought it was really cute that they cast that final spell to reunite Winnie with her sisters like together. Like
Yeah.
Izzy and Cassie were saying the Ichthysticopita Malca Mystica part.
Yeah, the mayor never got his candy apple.
That devastated me. He did get a candy apple. He got like a
it
really
was from
sad one from
Walgreens.
Walgreens.
A Walgreens with the power out.
Yeah.
And they're just
he was like,
oops.
He was like, what Walgreens has the lights out? And he's like, I'm gonna eat this and I'm gonna like it. And I felt so bad because she said like he had been talking about the candy apple for weeks. And like I felt that. Like he sold me on that. That he really wanted that apple. And he didn't.
He was like an important character. He was a cute character.
He was so wholesome.
I think it was more wholesome than the last one. I liked it more because of that. I liked the characters better.
Critically speaking, it's a better movie. It's the tone is consistent. It knew what it was. I feel like it knew who was watching it as well. Like, it was kind of like, it knew that the people who watched Hocus Pocus might be watching it with their kids now. Um, it wasn't suffering an identity crisis like the first one was. It was a good popcorn movie. I still prefer the first one. I don't know why. I think
It's nostalgia.
it's probably the nostalgia. Oh, one more thing I want to mention is Kathy Najimy, the one who plays Mary. She got more screen time in this one, and I really enjoyed it. I thought Mary was really enjoyable and funny.
Tony was really upset that she lost weight in between the movies. And I'm just like, Tony, it's been 30 years.
30 years will do that to you. I also noticed she lost weight, but like,
he's like,
30
she
years.
can't lose weight if she's dead. And I'm just like,
You
honey,
want her to put on a fat suit though? Like, that would be very problematic.
Not a real movie. It's not real life, honey. I'm just like, honey, deal with it.
Should I put this in? I thought it was very cute, and I still prefer the first one, but that's just me. I think this is obviously critically better. Like, I think anyone can see that. Unfortunately for the first one.
There were some people on Twitter that didn't like the second one, and I was just like,
They think I haven't really seen any discussion on Twitter, but the one, like, the critiques that I did see is that the Sanderson sisters were less threatening in this one. And part of me sees it and part of me doesn't, because like, they're still threatening to kill people. Why are they less scary? I don't get it. Like, Bette Midler does look like more adorable in this one. I don't know why. Is it the lashes? I don't know. She looks cuter, like a cuter old lady. Maybe that's why they think they're less threatening. Bette Midler is 75 or 76 years old. She is fucking killing it. Overall, way better. But yeah, that was Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2.
I don't think I'm gonna get my dog bed tonight. I ordered a dog bed for Ziggy so he doesn't have to hog the bed.
Yeah, I think I saw you show it to your mom. It has like a little flap.
Yeah, so he can get underneath it by himself.
Do you think he'll use it?
I hope to God that he uses it.
How can such a small creature take up so much space?
Like, okay, how come when he's by himself, he just curls up into a little ball? And you're just like, oh, that's so cute. But then he shares a bed with somebody and he's just like, let me just spread all the way out. Like, what the fuck?
Because fuck you, that's why.
Literally.
Next week the plan is Sabrina.
The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina? Or which one?
The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
I'm probably not going to finish all of it by the time it comes to record, but I am making notes about the witchy things I can comment on. I'm gonna have to narrow it down because every time I watch it, there's always something I can talk about. I have something about Stolas on there. I have something about astral travel on there. I have something about Baphomet, a Yule log, Samhain. Like, I don't think we can cover all of the crossover in one episode.
I don't think with that one we need to go like step by step. I think we can just give a little brief synopsis and then talk about like the portrayal of witchcraft in Sabrina.
Yeah, I know a lot of people feel weird or don't like the portrayal of witchcraft in Sabrina. And I can see why, but like I said previously, twice now, entertainment is my top priority when I'm consuming media. As long as it's not like offensive or problematic. Haven't gotten there yet with Sabrina, but I'm only starting season 2 just now, so hopefully there's nothing there. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it's been a hot second since I've seen it, so I might have to brush up a little bit. With all the episodes being like an hour long, it's kind of hard to brush up on it. There's a lot that I remember. There were some really good episodes. I never finished season 4.
In the next week, I'm sure I'll at least finish season 2. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I love talking about Hocus Pocus. I love watching Hocus Pocus. I watched it 3 times this year because of the podcast. And now I can watch Hocus Pocus 2 every year as well. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
You could give us money at Patreon.
Yes, help Kaija get a new mic. That would be very much appreciated. $2 a month. Not too bad.
Yeah.
You also get to see our pets. You get the video version of the podcast, so you get to see our pets
Yes.
with the $2 a month tier. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Bye, witches.
Bye, witches.